Now, why Kerri-Anne Kennerley is mad as hell. She's on a crusade to give older Australians a voice. And CAC's calling for a complete overhaul of a system she says is a shambles.
Our bubbly queen of daytime TV has had enough.
I am angry, so forgive me for being angry. I've been angry about this for years.
Kerri-Anne is on the warpath.
I want to sue the government.
And she's not alone.
Probably the worst human rights injustice in the country at the moment.
On an issue.
Nobody's aware of this until it actually happens to them.
It is illegal. So how is the government getting away with discriminating people who are 65 and over?
If you're not already there, all of us will likely be over 65 one day. And there's something very few of us know.
If you're over 65 and suffer an accident, something happens to you, say you fall over at a family barbecue and become a quadriplegic or paraplegic, you won't get help from the NDIS scheme.
That's just what happened to John Kennerly. Kerri-Anne, when John had his accident and you both realised he wasn't entitled to the NDIS, what did you both think?
Well, it's shock. Who would have thought that somebody is not entitled to care because of a catastrophic accident, no fault of their own, a catastrophic accident, that they cannot be looked after properly?
When Kerri-Anne's beloved husband John tripped over a small garden hedge, tragically leaving him a quadriplegic, their happy world ended.
Just trying to come to grips with the fact that your loved one can never move their hands again, that sometimes they need a respirator, that their life, and your life as you know it, is over.
But John's age meant he couldn't get the disability scheme most of us thought was for everyone.
These are not age-related issues.
Same thing happened to Helen Bonning, who was left wheelchair-bound following a cancer operation.
And if you were declined to have NDIS because of your colour, your religion, your sexual orientation, there would be a public outcry.
Peter Frecklington.
And thought maybe it was just a mistake.
And John Moxton.
There isn't enough money to pay for all the personal care that I will need in the future.
And tens of thousands of other older Australians suffering a disability.
They actually can't get to the bathroom by themselves. They need help. They can't get the food they're cooking.
All because, says Mark Townsend from Spinal Life Australia, when the NDIS was set up, it excluded over 65s who were put into the My Aged Care package.
My Aged Care is about 20% of the funding of NDIS. And that means it's a couple of days a week of care rather than 7 days a week.
If Helen was younger, she would be on $80,000 a year to help her with everything from cleaning to therapy. Instead, she's getting $635 a year because the aged care package doesn't cater for disabilities.
An elderly person is not the same as someone with a disability. Our needs are completely different.
Under My Aged Care, John and Kerri-Anne received just 10 hours a week, when John required 24/7 care.
It didn't even scratch the surface.
Fortunately, the TV legend had the money and spent millions looking after the love of her life. But many people aren't as financial.
Between $150,000 and $200,000.
So, John, if you were 64, you would get that?
Correct.
That's what John would get with the NDIS to assist with his quadriplegia. But with My Aged Care, he receives just $42,000 a year. What do you miss out on given you're not on the NDIS?
So things like this wheelchair that I'm sitting in, $25,000, $27,000. And that's a cheap one. The hoist to get me in and out of bed, another $10,000.
Same story for all of them. Polio sufferer Peter often has to upgrade his wheelchair, leg braces and special bed, but can't do that with the little he gets on My Aged Care.
And so when you need something, it's often quite a big expense and you need it right away.
I think there's something fundamentally unfair that it's your age which determines the level of care you get, not the extent of your disability.
Opposition NDIS Shadow Minister Bill Shorten was part of the Gillard government that set up the scheme, but says as the years have rolled on, My Aged Care has fallen behind.
So, ironically, the NDIS was set up to fill the gap for people under 65, but now aged care has fallen so far off the pace that it's not delivering its promise to older Australians.
Helen still can't get over two cruel facts. Her disability came just 6 weeks after her 65th birthday, and that the NDIS was rolled out in stages, and she was living in the wrong area.
If I'd have lived on the other side of the Harbour Bridge, they actually rolled out the year before the Inner West, so I actually, again, would have had NDIS.
So Helen, you were living on the wrong side of the Harbour Bridge.
Wrong side of the bridge and the wrong age.
I'd be really careful if I was a government, because over 65s vote, and so do their families.
Which has prompted Kerri-Anne, who is left with the memories and mementos of John's favourite hobby, to support a campaign she says we all should get behind.
Make yourself heard. So many people will be affected in the future, so many people are affected now. Make some noise.
And Kerri-Anne will keep making noise. She's talking to a law firm about taking on the federal government with an ad campaign starting soon.